Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar, How to Deploy Interlocation Services with Cisco DNA Spaces and Pointr. My name is Eva. I'm the Marketing Manager here at Pointr, and I'll be hosting today's webinar for you guys. So before we start, just a few housekeeping notes. So this webinar will last for around 50 minutes with 30 minutes of presentations from our two speakers, Nathan from Cisco DNA Spaces and Paul from Pointr. So this will follow by our 20 minutes Q&A session after the presentations. So just remember, if you have any questions that you want to discuss with our panelists, you can either use the Q&A function or the chat to ask your questions anytime during this webinar, and your questions will be answered during the Q&A session by the end of this webinar. This webinar will be recorded and made available to you after the webinar, and we'll send you an email with the recording. So if you missed anything, don't worry about it. We'll be sending out the recording of the webinar when it is available. For today's agenda, first we will have Nathan Eagles, the product manager of Cisco DNA Spaces, and he is going to talk about what Cisco DNA Spaces is and how Pointr fits into DNA Spaces services. Nathan is a senior product manager for Cisco DNA Spaces. He is responsible for leading the DNA Spaces partner ecosystem, a rapidly growing group of DNA Spaces App Center partners that leverage DNA Spaces platform to deliver lines of business outcomes to customers. At Cisco, in addition to DNA Spaces, Nathan has lead products in IoT wireless access, as well identity and access management. Prior to Cisco, Nathan worked in product marketing and customer experience for Workkeeper, which is a cloud financial reporting and compliance solution. And then we will have Paul Dupont, the VP of Sales at Pointr, and he will be presenting the benefits of location services, for example, like indoor wayfinding and digital mapping, etc., and how Pointr works with Cisco DNA Spaces, and followed by a live demo of a wayfinding starter kit to showcase the wayfinding app experiences. So as mentioned, Paul is our sales VP at Pointr. He's responsible for leading and directing global client sales in commercial offices, healthcare, retail, and aviation. Paul leverages his 10 years of sales, customers engagement, technology, and executive management experience in his current role. Before his current role, Paul was the project director at Intralink Group. He was responsible for creating and executing go-to-market strategies for over 25 SaaS businesses and helped them expand their global footprint. So now I'm going to hand it to Nathan.
Great, thanks, Ava. So as Ava mentioned, I'm Nathan Eagles. I lead our partner ecosystem for DNA Spaces. And so I'm going to spend just a few minutes today before Paul digs into kind of what we're doing together with Pointr on what DNA Spaces is, where it fits into our kind of Cisco ecosystem, and then how we're more specifically partnering with Pointr. So to start, if you think about network connectivity historically, it's really been about allowing people to connect to each other, connect to on-prem data center, connect to the internet, the cloud. A very fixed and very focused view of how to leverage that network. But what we're seeing and what we're really doing with Spaces is to say, hey, you have invested in your network. What more can it do for you, right? Beyond just network connectivity. And this is really about network for digitization. And so when we think about the network, Spaces is really focused on allowing our customers to leverage that for more outcomes and more value, to say, you've invested in this infrastructure, let's have it work for you and do more. And so, we believe today and then moving forward, tomorrow's model around a customer's network is about doing more. And there's a few examples here listed on the slide about what a customer can do with DNA Spaces and their Cisco wireless network. We can improve customers' Wi-Fi onboarding experience. We can provide rich and detailed location analytics into understanding how people are behaving in a particular location. We can provide better end employee or visitor experience, like through a Pointr wayfinding app, so people can get to where they need to go better and more efficiently. And then we can also provide real-time monitoring insights through indoor IoT services. So these are things like understanding where assets are via BLE tags that communicate with our Cisco infrastructure, understanding what temperatures are in certain locations, air quality, right? And so all of that can be done through the network without the need to deploy an additional and parallel solution to accomplish these end goals. And really, that's what Spaces has been doing and continues to do today. We have done this, bringing additional value to our customers through a digitized network already at scale. So we have over 1.5 million access points live across the globe with our Cisco customers that are sending location and telemetry analytics to our cloud for compute. And this includes almost 750 million mobile devices that are also connected and sending network data to their respective customers. DNA Spaces is set up as a service. So this isn't on-prem software. You don't have to buy hardware to get it to run. You can really get this up and running on top of your Cisco infrastructure in 30 minutes or less. It's very easy to get going and get that data out from Cisco infrastructure up to the cloud, to our native apps and to our partners very, very quickly. And we work across a wide variety of Cisco products that I'll talk about in a little bit. And ultimately, as I inferred, the point of DNA Spaces is to give our customers an easier way to get these outcomes and to facilitate that through their network. So we have several dozen built-in native apps that I'll talk about in a little bit that allow customers to get insights into location and telemetry analytics across their sites. We have a wide variety of partner apps like Pointr, where we partner with an external partner to provide a joint end-to-end solution to the customer across networking in the line of business. And then a third way we're oriented toward outcomes is through our IoT marketplace. So these are a wide variety of BLE devices that can send location and other telemetry analytics to even bring more value to customers through their network. And what this looks like from an architectural level when we kind of put all those pieces together is this. And so we start with the Cisco infrastructure. We start with the Catalyst access points, the Aeronet access points, and the Meraki access points that can send data to our cloud around where people are, how people are behaving, how long they stayed, to get a really great insight into customer or employee behavior on site. We're also pulling data from other products in the Cisco ecosystem. So these include things like WebEx telepresence devices, where we send occupancy data to the Spaces cloud. And the same thing with Meraki video cameras, where we send people count analytics and presence data so customers can understand how many people are walking into their business, for instance. So all this data is sent up through a Spaces connector up to our cloud, where we do all of our compute and analytics in the cloud. The next data point is through our IoT device marketplace. And so this is where we have a growing ecosystem of BLE devices such as lighting sensors, PIR sensors, beacons that can communicate to our cloud through a dynamic gateway that is on our newer access points. And so with this gateway, we can do two things for our customers. One is to pull all of that telemetry, whether it's occupancy data for a PIR sensor, temperature for a temperature tag, into our cloud without the need to install a separate gateway ecosystem. And then through that gateway, we're also able to manage that entire IoT deployment. And so when it comes to onboarding those devices, configuring them, assigning them to a location on a map, as well as managing them from a battery level or a major minor configuration standpoint, that can all now be done within DNA Spaces as well. And then next comes our really robust and ever-growing partner ecosystem. And so this includes partners like Pointr. And so we provide partners like Pointr data in a couple ways that it makes it much easier for them to consume this network data from DNA Spaces than from other options. And so we have a high-performance, low-latency streaming API where we stream all event and telemetry data to our partners for our partners to consume. And so, our partners have expertise like Pointr in wayfinding and heat mapping and asset tracking. We have some partners that focus in healthcare, some that focus on office use cases, some focus hospitality or retail. And so, we leverage the data that we have available from our customers in the cloud with our partners to provide a really great end-to-end solution. Cisco on the IT side and our partners like Pointr on the line of business side to provide this end-to-end monitored and supported experience for the customer and for their line of business needs like wayfinding with Pointr. And then last is the features that are enabled within DNA Spaces natively. These are back to business use cases like proximity reporting, density triggers when you reach a certain threshold in your office, behavior analytics to understand how many people are in a space, and things like a captive portal and engagements to onboard people to your wireless network and to engage them based on where they are in the network. So digging a bit more into what we're doing around IoT and BLE devices, and as it relates specifically to Pointr, typically what we found with our customers is a very disjointed and fragmented model for how they leverage technology for specific outcomes. So, when it comes to an operations team, an experience team, or a facilities team, a lot of the solutions that are brought in by those teams for specific outcomes like wayfinding or asset tracking are vertically dependent. There's vendor lock-in, and this presents problems to our customers because it ends up being very costly. You end up deploying overlapping technological solutions and infrastructure to accomplish multiple outcomes. And it also becomes very costly, and it becomes very difficult to scale because for each solution, for each vendor, you have to deploy a new solution. So what we've done with DNA Spaces and with our Cisco hardware is to disintermediate those vertical stacks and bring them into an open ecosystem. And so because DNA Spaces and Cisco can act as that middleware with the gateway enabled on our Catalyst APs, we can break down those silos and allow the device layer and the application layer to talk to each other regardless of who that device vendor is and who that app partner is, right? So in the case of Pointr can leverage, BLE beacons that may already be on site for another purpose for their wayfinding application. This makes it much easier for customers to partner with, Cisco and Pointr to deploy wayfinding or other use cases without having to deploy new hardware. And it provides the customer a much more quick time to value with that employee wayfinding or that visitor wayfinding experience because DNA Spaces is able to act as that middleware and a new hardware deployment is not required to accomplish that end goal. And so lastly, how this looks like for a customer that is looking to leverage DNA Spaces for wayfinding with Pointr is this flow. So essentially on the left, the customer is going to order the hardware that's required to fulfill the use case. So in this case, the customer is going to order, any number of beacons that are going to be deployed on site to assist with wayfinding with the Pointr app. They're going to get that order. And very quickly with DNA Spaces, they're going to be able to deploy those beacons on site, place them in the location, configure them in the map, and do any other configuration they need to do as DNA Spaces automatically onboards them as soon as they're opened up and turned on out of the box. Next, any additional configuration can be done, like I mentioned. This is the major minor, this is battery level, this is configuring where the beacons are placed on a map. And then that data then can be connected to Pointr, for instance, for very quick outcomes for the customer. So in this case, we send location data for where these beacons are, where the access points are, that allows Pointr to very quickly provide value and validate the solution with the customer. So no on-site visit is needed because again, that data that we send to Pointr allows a very quick integration of that use case, right? Typically, you're talking 30, 60 days to deploy the solution, but with the data that we partner with Pointr, this ends up being a much quicker value, and customers can see that blue dot, they can see that experience in a number of days or a day instead of weeks or months for that value. So that's really quickly what DNA Spaces is and a little bit about what and how we're partnering with Pointr to provide the IT infrastructure and the data for them to provide that wayfinding experience to to their customers. So for that, I'm going to hand it off to Paul to dig in a little bit more to the Pointr offering.
Okay, thank you very much, Nathan. That was really interesting, and I think the details that I'll go into now will go on top of that. So let me just bring up my screen so you can see. So that's exactly it, right? So building on that last point about taking the Cisco hardware and DNA Spaces software and the platform, and then unlocking location. That's what we're here to talk about today. So very quickly, my name is Paul. I'm VP of Technical Sales at Pointr. Pointr. Today we want to talk about unlocking location with Cisco DNA Spaces. As a company, we are specialists in doing essentially one thing, which is indoor location software. We've been doing it since 2013. We've deployed our tech in over 1,000 venues around the world. We have over 2 million daily active users of the tech, so it's really everywhere. As a company, we have offices in Boston, in London, where I am right now, and we have R&D and support around the world as well. And we work in all kinds of different sectors. Essentially, wherever there's large buildings, right? That's where you'll find our tech. So, going on that, who do we work with? So our tech is deployed in hospitals, for example, UC Health in Colorado, where we are inside the UC Health app that I encourage you to download and have a play with. We are also in many CBRE run buildings where we are enhancing the workplace experience for employees and for staff as well. EY in their offices, United, we're in the United app. So if you have the United app on your phone, then you already have our tech on your phone, which I think is pretty cool, where we're helping at airports and so on and so on. So Nike in their offices, Delta in the airports, Novartis in the office, Harrods in the store, and so on. So what do we actually do in those places? So firstly, Pointr, we create maps based on floor plans. So we take floor plans for a building, and we will turn those into a beautiful digital map that you can click on, zoom into, out of, put it on a world map so you can see where your building is more generally. Once we have the maps, which are available either through mobile phone on an iOS, or Android or web. On the mobile phone, we then add real-time location. So we show the blue dot, which is the physical location that you're standing in on top of that map. So we can see where you are, accurate to around 3 feet in most environments, but between 3 and 9 feet. And that will transition as you go up and down as well. So very quick, very rapid, very accurate blue dot. Once we have your blue dot and we have your position on a map, then we can enable wayfinding. So wayfinding, helping you get from A to B. So when you arrive at the hospital, helping you find your doctor's office, which is often a challenge for many patients. Now we've got, we're helping people get from A to B in a complex environment. We can do other stuff with geofencing. So geofencing essentially enables us to define a zone on top of the map where something happens when you enter or exit. So, for example, we can trigger a notification when you enter the lobby of a hospital. So you enter, and then we pop up a notification that says, welcome to the hospital. We know where your doctor's appointment is. Click here to navigate to your appointment. And so from a user's point of view, they just arrive and then they can navigate right there. The second thing we can do with geofencing is around analytics. So we can see how people use a space, how people move around a space. We can see where they go. We can see how congested a particular area is. And we can compare that over time. So we can see, this year versus last year, this month versus last month, how that changes. And then finally, we also, is sort of out of the scope of today, really, but we also enable some asset tracking functionality as well, where we can monitor the position and movement of assets. For example, in a hospital, that could be a bed as it moves around the hospital. So you can find assets. So to summarize, digital maps, it can be 2D, 3D. We can zoom in. You can see it on a world map. Here's an example. Then we enable location, so you can see your blue dot here on top of the map. You can see where you are, and then navigate to where you're going, and create notifications around that. And then finally, we also enable AR navigation. So that's when you hold up the phone, like here, and as you walk around, you can see the route, the path that you want to take displayed in augmented reality, which is definitely a very cool way to get around. Our solution is ready for hospitals, it's ready for offices. We have many deployments in retail and airports as well. And one particular example is UC Health. So I mentioned at the beginning, and I encourage you to download these slides and take a look, and you can take a watch through these videos that we have that show the patient experience. But essentially what we were doing is delivering a vastly improved blue dot and location and wayfinding experience in this hospital to help people navigate from, for example, the car park right up to the doctor's office and then back home again. We had integrations with all sorts of things, for example, Epic MyChart, in order to really reduce the friction from that patient experience. So for today, there we go. Right, so today, I think what is particularly exciting with DNA Spaces is, if we ask ourselves the question, what if DNA Spaces customers could just flip a switch and enable all of that functionality that we've just spoken about, the maps, the blue dot, the wayfinding, the geofencing, the notifications, the AR, everything, right? Just flick a switch and do it. That's what's so exciting about this integration with DNA Spaces, is we can do that. To do that, we got two different methods. So to begin with, as a starter, we would be looking at the starter kit, which we've got, is available for you to get from the DNA Spaces website, that has some beacons inside. So it has, I'm just opening it here, has some content, some instructions and information about what's possible. It has some physical beacons in here, which you can see. And once you've got that, once you've signed up for it and received the starter kit, you can then go to the DNA Spaces website, download our demo app, and that demo app, which I will show you shortly in a demonstration, will teleport you to an office through your phone, where you can see the blue dot working with the beacons that you have in your hand. So you will see a live blue dot on your phone that will show you some wayfinding. It will show you 3D maps on a world map. Yeah, then the second, let me just put that there. The second way to test our tech, or not to test, but to show our technology, is through DNA Spaces, is the kind of the flip a switch idea here, where essentially the DNA Spaces client can authorize Pointr to access some of the content that's stored within their DNA Spaces portal. And that includes floor plans for the building, as well as the location of the access points, which also, those access points that have Bluetooth beacons in them. Pointr, we then extract that data automatically from DNA Spaces, so the floor plans and the AP layout. We will digitize those floor plans, so turn them into that interactive map that you can zoom into, zoom out of, you can scroll, you can click on. and we'll deliver that to you in an app. So you, as a DNA Spaces customer, can go into your building, provided that the access points are installed in there. You can go into your building and test the blue dot, the location, the wayfinding working for yourself in your own building, right? And this is just a couple of day process. So what you'll see the blue dot, you'll see wayfinding, and you'll see maps. How does this work? So in the building, there are Cisco access points with Bluetooth beacons enabled or integrated in them they're hooked up to Cisco DNA Spaces. Those beacons broadcast a Bluetooth signal to our SDK, which is on the mobile phone. So the Pointr SDK on a mobile phone. The Pointr SDK will calculate the position, the user position, and display that as a blue dot on top of the map. Then the user will be able to do the wayfinding, they'll see their location, all that good stuff. The map is downloaded from Pointr Cloud, which would be available to use it to see analytics, that sort of thing. But that's where the maps are stored. They get pulled down into the SDK. And Pointr Cloud, it gets its information from DNA Spaces here. So the floor plan and the AP locations pulled onto Pointr Cloud. So that's the way the whole system works. And now what I would like to do is do a live demo, which always a little risky, but let's give it a shot. So let me share my phone. So what I want to do is I want to show you, hang on. So from my phone, I want to show you how to log in, how to get the app firstly, then what the app looks like, how to use it, what you should expect to see, and then I'll also show you the Pointr Cloud after that. So let me just share my screen on here. So start now. You should be able to see that. Wonderful. So as part of the starter kit, you'll receive this, which has some QR codes on it. What you want to do firstly is just scan this blue QR code at the bottom here. So let me do that with my phone here. So scan that with your camera, and it will load up the DNA Spaces website. Here you can scroll down until you find the Pointr, the wayfinding app by Pointr, which is at the bottom of this web page. Select that, and it will give you loads of information. So it will give you an app overview. It will tell you all of the functionality and features in there. If you then click on the Setup tab here, it will give you more information on how to get started, so how to claim your beacons, which if you already have this sheet, then you already have. But then step 4, download the app. So we open that up, and it gives you some instructions for doing that. And there's some videos here for iOS and for Android showing the differences on how to do that. So if I show you that now, what you can do is you can click on this HTTPS Pointr Center link here. So I do that, I'll open a new tab. I'll then select the tab at the bottom, and you can then just download the app by selecting well, for me it's on Android because I'm using my Samsung. You can select that there. Once the app is downloaded, you can then open and run it from your home screen. So Pointr Discover, and it will load up like this. And then it will load the map. And the first time you open it might take a few seconds. But then subsequently, you can then zoom in. You will see your blue dot. So it's using the beacons which are behind me to calculate that blue dot. It's showing me my location. I'm teleported to this office. But you can see your location there. And that is, for this one, it's on a world map, which is pretty cool. So you can really zoom in, zoom out. You can see where you are inside that building at a really good scale. You can rotate it, zoom, you can play with it. And then we can, of course, select different things. So, for example, if we want to navigate to a particular area, we can just hit, we can hit directions and navigate, and it will plot me the line here. You can also search, so it will, you can search for anything that's in here. It will show you, you can see here it's 10 meters away, so the nearest cafeteria is 10 meters away. So it will show you what's closest to you. Yeah, so that is the app. So let me just stop sharing that. So that data, so I'm going to leave that on in the background and then show you what that looks like in the cloud. So bear with me for just 1 second. So if you want to then, as an administrator, log into the cloud to see the analytics, to configure things, you can firstly go to your DNA Spaces account, which once you've logged in, as I will do now, it will load up your homepage. And because you've already, you've already got the test kit, you should already have under here IoT device marketplace. You should have this Pointr deep location card here, so you can select that. And do you know what? I'm going to log out for a second. It will load up this page here. So then you can type in your credentials and log in. And it will show you, for example, here, if I go to tracking, it will show me, so this is my live location. So we can see on the dashboard, this is the location being generated by my device. So you can see it last got a location about half a minute ago. And then you can see, so you'll be able to see live the people in the building. Even better than that, you can see how a heat map over time. So we can look at the dwell time for this floor between a certain period of time. And then we can also do simulation. So simulation is where we track the movement of a user. So if, for example, we want to look at all users between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. in this site, and I can display that here. So it's you can see the paths being taken by these users here, displaying here on that map. We've got a bunch of other configuration settings here in the cloud, which I won't go into for the moment, because I just want to touch on the main features. Of course, this cloud would be available for the client if you were to do it on the client site as well, except instead of this map, it would obviously be the client's floor plan instead. So I think that is all I have to say, except if you want to get started to see what's possible with indoor location and wayfinding, you want to start a pilot with us, then the Wayfinding Starter Kit is a great way to do that. And to get your kit, we recommend you go to this website, so dnaspaces.cisco.com/demo, where you can apply to download the, to have the kit shipped right to you, and you can get started and see this stuff going for yourself. And of course, you can get in touch with us. So feel free to drop us a line, send us an email, where we'll be able to give you a demo and show you more of what we do and help you get started. So I think that's everything. Back to you, Eva.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Nathan, for the presentations. That was very insightful. So now for our Q&A session. We've got several very interesting questions from our attendees today. So the first one, I think, is a very good question. The question is, what's the next step for deploying indoor wayfinding with Cisco DNA Spaces and Pointr? What will be the pilot process, and what will be the sales and technical support?
So I guess I can tell you that. So the best thing to do is to go to the DNA Spaces website, and from from the DNA Spaces website, you can get started. So you can schedule some time with Pointr to talk to us. You can get your demo kit, and then we can get started from there.
Okay, so we have another question, which is what is the latency of the real-time location tracking for Pointr?
So the blue dot, when it appears on Pointr Cloud, so taken from the phone up to Pointr Cloud and then displayed on the dashboard, is usually there, depending on the mobile device's internet connection, in under 30 seconds. So I'd say a typical latency is less than 30 seconds for that user tracking.
But yeah, one thing to add to that from the latency standpoint is, if you're looking at, Blue Dot as computed from beacons, right, via the SDK on the Pointr app, there's, the latency is considerably lower, correct, Paul, on that?
So that's absolutely right. So the blue dot that is on the mobile device, so the one that's being calculated right there, is pretty much instant. So that's being calculated. Right. They're essentially no latency, right? Much less than a second. As you walk around, you won't even notice it. It'll just be updated. Then the second bit is then obviously updating that in the cloud, which does have a bit of time because the data needs to be transferred.
Yeah, and just to add to that from like the Spaces side, I mean, that's one thing we're excited about with just the beacons that we have available in our device marketplace, right? With those installed, and then with the Pointr app, like the user gets a really great experience, right? Because location's computed on the app, and as they move, it's just bam, 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 the blue dot updated. So just one point on the latency on that. From user experience, it's a really great, kind of low latency, real time, exactly where I am. So
yeah, exactly. So from a customer point of view, there's no friction there.
Yeah, so we got another one here. The question is, how quickly can we get things up and running?
Yeah, I can talk to just from the Spaces side, right? So from the Spaces side, if the Cisco infrastructure is in place from, the AP standpoint, you can get that up and running in about 30 minutes. It's probably going to be another 30 to 60 minutes if you're unboxing some beacons, right, to place those in the locations, and then to configure them within our dashboard, right, and then to activate the Pointr app, right. So you're looking at maybe just a few hours on the Spaces side, right, to get that set up and the data available to Pointr.
And then once those beacons are up, the app will pull it down automatically. So as soon as the app is there, the blue dot will appear. So that's however long it takes you to download an app, I guess.
Okay, so there's another one asking, do I need an app to access Cisco's wayfinding kits?
So yeah, you'll need to download the app, which you can do from the website. So as I mentioned, you'll get this with the starter kit, and you can get that from the DNA Spaces website, and then you're good to go. And that's available on iOS and Android.
Okay, I got one here. So what are the requirements to enable interlocation services for existing Cisco customers?
Yeah, I can start with that one. So in terms of requirements, right? If they're an existing Cisco customer, they have the the access points, they have the wireless LAN controller. From a hardware standpoint, to enable the IoT part, right, the beaconing part, the management, all of that, you will need a 9800 wireless LAN controller for that. There's quite a few different APs that have the ability to have the gateway on it in terms of like pulling in different telemetry points to DNA Spaces. So that varies. The whole Catalyst line does that, and then several of the AeroNet access points do that as well. And then it's just having DNA Spaces ACT licensing. So we have 3 different tiers of licensing: C, Extend, and ACT. And so for the indoor IoT portion of services that we offer, both like from the beaconing standpoint with Pointr, or from pulling in telemetry around like asset tags or temperature sensors, it would require the ACT license, and we license on a per access point basis. A lot of our customers already have DNA Spaces licensing do bundles when they purchase the access points, and so it's best just to talk with their sales rep to understand what they have entitlement to already, and if they need to upgrade, what that would look like specifically.
And I mean, this is what's so exciting, right? Is there's customers out there with DNA Spaces ready, and historically one of the main friction points for location has been around the hardware and getting the floor plans right with the right locations for the beacons, which is just instantly solved, which makes getting location into a building probably faster than ever before. Not afraid of using hyperbole, but it really is, right? It's the fastest way to get location up and running in large buildings that have already got the right infrastructure in place.
Yeah, we've got one question asking about the accuracy. So obviously, Paul has mentioned that the accuracy will be around 1 to 3 meters, but are the customers happy about that? And how many access points are suggested to be that will be needed to achieve the best accuracy?
So I think there's two things there. It's a good question. So in terms of accuracy, in most situations, we're at the 1 meter mark, right? So in an office place, with the corridors, or in a hospital, it's at that 1 meter level. Where it goes to 3 meters are what we call like tricky environments, right? Which is like a large atrium with multiple floors or something, right? Where but in most situations, it's that 1 meter point. We don't tend to get like a jumping, especially between rooms. We have some very clever ways in terms of our software of preventing a blue dot from being able to jump either around an open space or across walls. And then in terms of the beacon density or the AP density, for most environments, we find that the density is actually around the same as for Wi-Fi APs in general, or a bit less. So we're talking maybe in most environments around 1 every 1,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet. Or one, between 1 in every 100 to 200 square meters. And that kind of depends on how sort of narrowly packed the environment is versus open. So if it's a bit more open, it's a bit less density. If it's a bit narrow, it's a bit higher density. But I think maybe Nathan, I think that's around the similar sort of density of access points, right?
Yeah, it's close. I mean, I think we typically say maybe 1 every 2,000 square feet, 2,500, right? So it's in that range, right? And so typically we anticipate customers putting in beacons to supplement where the APs are, right? Both because they might want to leverage the AP as a gateway more than a beacon, and then obviously from a cost standpoint, right? The beacons are a more cost-effective way to supplement, right, and complement whatever access points are in the space, of course, as well.
That's it. Yeah. So if the APs, if we find that there's an area where AP coverage isn't there, then that's what we got these. Let me get one out. That's what we got the Bluetooth beacons for, right? So they can cover any areas that we need, and that's all part of the service.
All right. I think we've only got a few minutes left, so let's just call it for today then. I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here today, and hope you enjoy today's event. You can find out more information on our website or email us if you want to find out more about our solutions. So enjoy the rest of your day today, and bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Nathan.